many people think they're gonna see it.
Or even here.
I can't even get this upload on my phone.
No, I couldn't either. Messenger came up on Facebook.
Resume where you left off. So, I don't know if it was done.
Sorry, I haven't seen it today.
Free
Because
stuff.
I don't know. I want to take them off.
Oh, Will is bringing a new list.
Yes.
She goes, no, it's not gonna be on this list. Because we said that last night. Couldn't believe the hell.
It is on the button.
I went out this morning, looked at the car, the truck, they didn't even dent, so looked at the roof, and shingles missing it out.
Okay, welcome everybody, welcome to this meeting. I'd like to call the DRI meeting to order. Would stand for the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
Okay, thank you. So as I said earlier, our attorney is on his way here. He's on 84 in traffic, so we'll wait for him. But if Valerie would like to give a little presentation before we have any conversation, maybe that would work.
Okay, I'm going to, actually call Susan Manfred, okay? So. Ask the calls here. Okay, Susan. So we're here at the Common Council room, and Will Frank is on his way in, stuck in some traffic. And I'm gonna put you on speaker, and we'll see how we do here. Okay. No power yet.
All right.
Okay. I'm gonna put you on the corner of the table, so, we'll see how it goes. Okay, good evening, everyone. Let's see, here we are. A little hot, little out of sorts considering the weather. Glad everybody is here in one piece, and thank you everyone for all your hard work, I would say, since last night around 10 o'clock when the electricity went out. Will Frank and I had a discussion this afternoon, and he is bringing some additional information that we were going to incorporate within this evening's discussion. Does anyone by chance have that?
Yes.
Okay.
It might load, it might not, so.
Okay.
Okay, is this in reference to the same document you gave us on Monday, but with some extra notes about matches and things of that nature?
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly so. Is Laura coming? Laura
No.
quick?
No.
Okay.
See if I can move that.
I can't, I tried.
I'll find it.
So the objective this evening is to go over the list that was presented with the additional information and come up with I'm gonna first say a yay or nay. We're gonna do a couple of rounds here. We'll go over the subject matter and what is on the additional suggestions, because the public is not aware of those discussions, so we can bring everybody up to date. So might ask for someone to read off the suggestions, because I didn't have a printer either, and here we are.
So, excuse me, so Will said that you and him spoke and you've modified that document?
We've only modified it with some additions and some suggestions.
Okay, so the 10 items are still there.
He's gonna have copies for us when he gets here.
Yes,
Oh,
but the 10 possible projects are still the same. The only thing that's different is under each there's often a suggested match if it's
Right.
necessary, and some additional commentary about the project, whether we would like to see it move forward with this round, whether we would like to have it be a supplementary project.
I think he's
And here's
coming.
Mr.
There it
Reed.
is.
We didn't get far.
Alright, I'm waiting.
Is there any time for public comment? Or is it just, I don't know how you're doing it.
Everybody,
Hi.
thank you.
Right?
Good.
Probably should do that first.
I think there should be public comment at every meeting.
Special.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have the stuff we have over here.
Thank you, sir.
So why don't we go over the projects?
Thank you.
And
And you already answered some of my questions.
Yeah, it's six voters. Yeah, it was so small.
Hey, go ahead.
Not that it's my job to call, but how about what we do is, I don't know if the public's familiar with the projects here.
Alright, and do we need a roll call?
I was gonna say the same
Yeah.
thing, we need a
Yeah.
roll call.
So we're gonna have to start over.
Oh, we can backtrack.
Yeah, so,
We need Tammy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe what we could do is just give like a brief synopsis, like name the project, one sentence about what it is. That way we can inform those who are present, and then we can move into this. That way people just know what we're talking about.
Okay, I'm also gonna turn my recorder on,
Okay.
okay, Laura's not here. Okay.
What happens to you?
He's coming, I hear him.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, so we want to start with a roll call?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, roll call.
Regis Foster, First Ward Councilman President.
Liz Miller, First Ward Council President.
Misty Fuller, Second Ward Council President. Maria Meehan, Second Ward Council President.
Stan Siegel, Council at Large, present.
Dennis Livingston, Third Ward Council, present.
Tim Simmons, Fourth Ward Council President.
Melissa Newhouser, Fourth Ward Council, present.
William Frank, Corporation Council, present. The meeting was convened based on a special meeting notice posted and published according to law. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Majinski, you have the floor.
Alrighty, thank you. So this evening, we're here for the Common Council to consider the projects that have been offered for the DRI submission due on July 21st, coming up, this next Thursday. So there was a presentation on the 10th. The base document was provided and discussed, and there are recordings of that online on YouTube and Facebook. So since that time, there have been additional discussions, and offered here are some suggestions. So the objective tonight is for the council to, and I'm gonna say, rank these projects, decide yay or nay to move them forward, and then add a match where considered most useful. I'm going to reiterate that these projects are going to be competing with all private and not-for-profit projects that will be presented to the local planning committee after the collection on the 21st. The LPC will not be ranking the projects. They will simply be selecting between $14 and $16 million worth of projects. So what the city decides upon this evening is going to be competing against those private and not-for-profit applications. The state wants to see a skin in the game. These items are to be catalytic and transformative, and they are to add to the economic development of the city. All right, Susan, anything else?
I would just add enhanced quality of life for everyone.
And to enhance the quality of life for everyone. So in no particular order, but beginning with the project number 1, which is a railroad crossing between Fowler and 4th Street. Oh, I can. No, I get to close to that. So
If you got closer to the window, would that be helpful?
we could,
This is fine, this is
Okay.
yeah, okay, so Mr. Frank can comment as well. So here we are with 2 options. One, which is of course preferred because it is less expensive, it's less invasive, etc., is the pedestrian at-grade crossing. Discussions with the MTA and with New York State DOT resulted in very little possibility of an at-grade being possible. Additional discussions with Norfolk Southern Real Estate left the impression that there might be room to negotiate. However, we were moved over to the Railroad Crossing Division. The same questions were asked, and no information came back except for saying, well, if you want a crossing open, you're going to have to close 2. Bottom line, we do not have 2 crossings. So that is not very probable. Question?
When was this communication had?
I'm going to say about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So, with that being said, the next possibility for a crossing is an overhead pedestrian bridge that would run from Fowler to 4th Street, and that would open up the flow of pedestrian traffic between the downtown and Riverside Park.
My concern with that is, number 1, not so much the cost of putting it in, the cost of maintenance, the cost of watching for vandalism on it, the inspection process that has to go through with inspecting both elevators. So this may be a situation where we could put it in because we have if it qualifies for the DRI grant. But the maintenance down the road, what is it gonna cost us? How long is it gonna last? There's a lot of questions, and how much in maintenance is it going to cost us?
It's gonna be large, very large.
That's my concern with that.
So the railroad's concern, as well as MTA's concern, is safety. Right now, we don't have any guarantees of safety down there. To advance any economic development beyond the railroad tracks to the other side of the tracks to the Delaware,
We're aware of that. But,
there needs to be some
but
options.
But they're
what,
not offering to help us. They're not very responsive. So they know that there's a safety concern, but they're not willing to offer any assistance.
They're not responsive to anything.
So,
They never have.
The discussion would be forthcoming, and I would like to point out the whole point of the DRI is that the finances of the city improves over time, that it results in economic development. I do not expect us to be in the same place we are 5 years from now. I will remind you that we have an annexation and a large parcel of property within the city now, which is a Class A, Class B manufacturing site. For a company to come in and build on that site, they will be drawing in additional people, workers, etc., who will be looking for places to live and things to do within the city. They will be also looking at quality of life issues.
and I get that, okay? And nobody wants to see that Riverside Park area developed more than I do. I see the amount of kids that use that park over there. I see the amount of organizations that use that area. My concern is if we go with the second part of that project, and in 2 years after we put it in, we can't use it because one of the elevators is broke, or both of the elevators are broke, or it's not putting us into any better situation than we are now. So we need to know how much it's gonna cost to fix it if it breaks down, how much is it gonna cost to inspect it?
It has to be inspected monthly.
Okay, those costs, okay.
My thought is, one, all of these projects are gonna cost the city money at some point in time. So we need to evaluate what type of finances we think that we can sustain if these projects are to come to fruition. So I think, not to nip the conversation in the butt, but maybe we could just do the overview and then open up for discussion.
Okay.
You know,
Alright.
just,
It has to be handicapped.
I know that, but.
Right. So I've been a proponent of this for at least 20 years, since I've been on the council. I never envisioned elevators, I always envisioned ramps going up like most places. But my concern at this point is, and you're right, Tim, it has to be inspected monthly, and annually it has to have a safety inspection, so. But my concern is, do we have a commitment from the railroad to allow us to lease land from 4th Street to 1st Street to put parking?
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Because
The
without that would,
Well, the Riverside North improvements include 100 parking spots, which we don't have now. We don't have 100 parking spots. But that would be part and parcel of the next discussion.
but that would be east of here.
It would be at the top end of Riverside Park. It would
But
not,
not west of Fowler Street.
currently, that would have to be part of the Norfolk Southern discussion with the real estate department.
Because that's what we really need.
We really need a crossing into the downtown. This needs to be ADA, yes. It would have stairs, yes. And then beyond that, it could have a ramp, but right now it's listed with 2 elevators. So right now the cost is listed, estimated with 2 elevators and 2 sets of stairs at $2.5 million.
Like I said, I'm not opposed to it's the cost factor after. If we could find out how much the ramps would cost, how much room we would need for the ramps, to put those ramps in, I think it would be a much more feasible, sell.
This evening, we have to decide, you have to decide whether the project is in or out.
But she also said there could be changes made, if I'm not mistaken.
The changes, we have until the 21st to make the submission. If you're going to decide to change things, then I would suggest that we might have to have another meeting before the 21st.
Well, Valerie's correct. The decisions tonight, in general, have to be which of these projects are going to be included in the application. The order of priority is up to the council. Okay? They're listed the way they are, because that's just how Valerie prepared them, and, she has already given her reasons for the order of ranking. But it's an in or out question in general. And yes, can there be, and Susan can also comment on this, can there be technical changes to the nature of the project? Yes, the timing of that is something we need to figure out. Okay.
Valerie, this is Susan. So yes, we can continue to evaluate the cost of elevators versus ramps, after the project is submitted. I don't think that that's likely to happen in the next 7 days.
Right.
But if the council chooses to submit this, that is additional cost of development that we can then do. And if at some point that the project is no longer something that the council wants to move forward with during the process, the city can withdraw it from consideration from the LPC.
Okay. In addition to that, Susan, this is Will Frank. Within the application, if the council chooses to include this project and we're listing it, I assume we can put some sort of notation in there that the city is also considering switching the nature of some of the project from elevators to ramps, we can include that on the document itself at this point, can we not?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's perhaps one way to move that forward and give everyone an idea that that's in consideration. Thank you.
How much was the cost of that?
Oh, you got it?
I wanna see.
Okay.
Well, that one was 2.5 million.
Do you know what the cost of the elevator was?
He included the cost of elevators in this.
Okay, but what's the cost of just the elevator?
I do not know the cost of the elevators, but Mike Lamoureux came with 2 million for 2 stairwells, a 23-foot, under, area, height. So the train's, double stacked is the idea. Whether or not they can get through the tunnel, that's their issue, or that they go from here north, that's their issue. All right?
I have some elevator experience and, listen, the ramps aren't gonna be cheap either.
No.
But the elevators are going to add $1 million to that project.
Yes.
I don't know what the ramps would add, and the maintenance going forward clearly is gonna be easier with the ramps.
Right.
Go ahead, Valerie.
Okay.
Everybody good to go move to the next project?
Okay.
I know you heard this all on Monday, but the Reader's Digest version would be helpful.
Yep. So, second project is Riverside Park Improvements North, which we have parking, public art, recreational features currently at 4.5 million. You can see there that, the suggested match range is 35 to 50%. Site control is under the city, and this is where we're talking about immediately, because it is on city property, you don't have any issue with putting in parking. So that's 100-car parking. Welcome to Port Jervis on the water tower. A new pavilion at 1.5 million, a 7,000 square foot approximately all-inclusive playground, which is ADA and not ADA, 400,000. The partner, the Rotary Club, is looking to primary Rotary parent for some grant monies to relocate the stage into an amphitheater, put in 6 pickleball courts for 400,000, a basketball court 400,000, new skate park 600,000, new mini golf 36 hole 300,000, new fitness area, which is stations for usually adult activities, 200,000, and relocate the community gardens for 30,000. So, confirming that park lighting and pathways will be included in the revamp, and that was a request of Department John Fagione, Department Head of Recreation. Potential funding sources also include New York State Parks, Recreation, Historic Preservation, Local Waterfront Revitalization Program, and DASNY SAM grants. Okay? Any questions there? Moving on, Project 3.
1 second, Valerie.
Yes.
Sorry.
Will?
Just everyone, please keep in mind that these numbers, it doesn't have to be the full 4.5 million. If the council decides they may want to shave that a little bit and take one of these initiatives off, that's also permissible, right?
Absolutely.
So for every project, we can modify
The amount.
the amount that's in there.
So for instance, Riverside Park, you have multiple features there. Going back to the pedestrian bridge, pretty much the estimate that Mr. Lamoureux gave is, I'm gonna say that's a pretty solid estimate.
Right.
Okay?
At the moment, it could go up.
It could go up, it could go differently. If you wanna do ramps instead of elevators, then, I really don't know what the cost equivalency of those 2 features are.
Can we call him?
He's not available this evening.
But as Susan noted on the phone there, we can put it in like this and then make a notation that there's consideration being given to ramps versus elevators.
The city doesn't.
Now, also keep in mind that there's suggested match on there.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's
Hey.
huge.
We need to be competitive. A zero is not competitive,
And the other thing is the match can include in kind, correct?
yes. So in certain instances,
Some,
again,
not always.
correct, yes.
It says 50% is suggested, but doesn't, it could be 40, 30.
It says 35 to 50.
Oh,
So, right, 'cause we're on
Project two,
So,
but, yeah, it's
Yeah, we're gonna need to know if that project is an in-kind also.
yeah,
and you can do on that project, so for instance, if DPW is available with labor and equipment, that could be considered an in-kind contribution.
Okay, as long as we know which projects that can and can't be, okay.
Which will also save a fortune if they don't.
We'll put it in.
Right, that's,
Right,
yeah,
right.
so project 2 can use
We
in
need to
kind.
question it.
Yes,
okay.
We should put it in
I would
red.
say project one would not use in-kind,
Yes,
Right.
thank you.
or not much of it.
So
you know.
one is no, the income.
I would say limited, if anything, engineering and, that type of thing.
So I'm confused on project 2. It says at the top in red, which we'll put in there, 35 to 50. But then you get down to the last paragraph in black, and it says a city match of some 50% is suggested. So that's what the 35 to 50 is?
My original suggestion was up to 50%. That's why the
Okay.
word some is in there.
Got
And
it.
then otherwise, Will and I discussing things this afternoon. It's a big project, but again, we need to be competitive. Riverside improvements south, Whitewater Kayak Park, and I'm gonna see the slash there, river access. So Riverside, the Whitewater Kayak Park is getting limited positive response. However, there is, I find, interest in additional river access.
Yes.
As nothing has been able to move forward, particularly on the river access, my suggestion is that this gets moved to a supplemental project. So again, the state is gonna come back with $9.7 million worth of projects that are, I'm gonna say, approved. Then there are going to be a number of backup projects. Then beyond that, there are supplemental suggested projects. So if one of the 9.7 falls out, then they're going to look to the backup projects to see what could be substituted basically in place. If a $1 million project falls out, then essentially they're gonna look for a $1 million project dollar to come in and or combination thereof. Okay. Even as a supporting project, a DRI application must be made. Project number 4, community center. Talking about Ulster Place. Estimated cost $8.5 million. Construction of an approximately 13,000 square foot community center to include the renovation of the existing farmhouse. Community center would include a full gymnasium with basketball court, multi-purpose room, offices, locker rooms, and toilet rooms. Project will also include the complete renovation of the existing farmhouse to house offices for the recreation department, a study room, kitchen, other miscellaneous office space. The renovated farmhouse and new gymnasium building will be interconnected through common corridors. Site development will include additional parking and landscaping. Concept plans are available. If selected, the current DRI boundary is open to adjustment. So tonight, if it's decided to include that project, then the adjustment to the DRI boundary will be made to move the dotted line 1 block over from where it is to include Ulster Place. This is,
Do we have a figure on what the current recreation center would be worth on the market?
I don't have any idea, considering it was built in 1909. It is settling on the downhill side. You can only get the lift up to the 2nd floor. I'm sure a private entity might be interested. The city sold the barn over here kind of as a surprise, you know, and quickly. So I can't comment on that. I don't know. It would need to be, comped out, you know, for a real estate project.
I was just curious if we had some kind of a
Stanley,
figure.
what, I recall in the past conversation about that property,
Could you,
When the
Marie,
owners
can you
turned
speak
it
up,
over.
please?
that the city couldn't sell it. Remember, like, when we moved,
When they bought from the Elks?
no, on Ulster Place.
The
Oh.
farm.
When it-
Ulster Place, the deed says that we have to maintain it until the death of the third granddaughter. We don't know the family tree that actually filed out.
Yeah, she's talking about the
Okay.
I wanted to figure out what, if we knew a dollar figure for the old,
No.
the old
Okay.
house block.
I know what we paid for it, or what we sold it for, but I don't have that. I'm looking for what we sold it for.
Okay, I'm just
Okay.
curious.
To continue with the, additional suggestions. To allay funding concerns, suggestion is to make this a phased project, perhaps starting on the Farnham House before the 2-year mark, which is a requirement of the grant, that projects are initiated within the 2-year mark. Then continue on to the main facility. This project, DRI, is listed as a 5-year project, so that would give us 3 additional years and a possible extension if necessary, and only through documentation of continuous progress. Okay, this would give the city the opportunity to apply for other city grants / bonds to the project. Potential funding sources include DASNY SAM grants, CDBG grants, ESD grants, and USDA Rural Development Loan / grants. It'll be more so a loan for construction. The community center, as you know, the current one is extremely dated. It is not serving the needs of our community. It is not a quality of life, situation right now, particularly for our young people. And, I'm going to mention, and I'm sure others have, noted, this last week with the unfortunate, melee that happened down on, Jersey Avenue with our teenagers. One stabbing, one death, 2 in the hospital. We continue to have, as we know, a drug problem. We continue to know our youth go through deep depressions. And I'm gonna say, as the adults in the community, I think it's necessary for us to look at what we could do to help the situation. So, the cost is significant. The project does not have to go by exactly the concept plans that have been provided to date. People have looked at it. In fact, Mac Lamoureux looked at it and said that as it stood with all the glass and whatnot around, it was, the facade itself probably added about 30% to the cost, and he estimated at least $12 million. By taking that facade off, changing the construction process, and following up with the estimated activity uses within that building, he brought that cost down to 8.5. I understand that that area is prone to flooding, and site preparation and dealing with those issues, particularly street flooding, would be part of the process.
So to answer Tim's question, we bought it in December of 14 for $40,000. In year 2020, or 2000, the assessed value was $90,000, the market value was $200,000 to $250,000. That was, 2020. Apparently there's a lot behind it that we own, was assessed for $1,750 with a market value of $4,000. So, of course, prices escalated since then. So, in the last few years, it's worth quite a bit of money if it's stable.
Okay. Alrighty. That's the community center, that's project number 4 on this list. Project 5, complete streets, greenway, smart growth. Emphasizing and focusing on Jersey Avenue sidewalks with a cost of $750,000. Replacement of approximately 4,000 linear feet of 5-foot wide concrete sidewalks. The sidewalks will be removed and replaced on both sides of Jersey Avenue from Fowler Street to East Main Street. The sidewalks will be completed under the Complete Streets model with accommodation for trees, lighting, ADA accessibility, etc. Plans are needed. City has site control, and yes, to add, similar to the current Pike Street project, whereby the DPW was involved in demolition, this is another project that the DPW potentially could be included in with an in-kind contribution.
So my concern here is that you're looking at taking care of private property behind the buildings, which Norfolk and Southern owns, when maybe we should be looking at sidewalks going further east and to include the people between here and Jersey and East Main Street that are also business people.
Well, this project is Jersey Avenue specifically.
This is it.
That is all of Jersey
From
Avenue.
Fowler Street to
From
East Main
Outdoor
Street.
Fork Southern,
Where's it say that?
and
This would be new sidewalks on both sides of the street. on Jersey
All the
Ave.
way down, oh,
From-
here, I
from-
sorry, I couldn't read that.
From
Well, I
Fowler,
apologize.
from Fowler to, East Main Street.
I see it, I
TD
didn't see
Bank.
it there.
So exactly what you wanted, Stan.
yeah.
The other one, B, from Metro North sidewalk to Erie Turntable, pave the municipal lot at front MacArthur Circle and Norfolk Southern right of way behind Front Street buildings. I have no estimate for that. It would include, 2 of those objects would include Norfolk Southern contribution, interaction. And then otherwise paving the municipal lot at Front Street would be a city project altogether unto itself. So
We don't have a price on that yet.
do not, and, at this point, I would probably look for just paving the municipal lot. That could be incorporated possibly into some other projects, which would include, we're looking at, and we're going to be bringing to the council, and this is a separate subject, not under DRI, would be consideration of the establishment of some EV chargers. Initially, we're looking at the Wall Street lot as the first location. Alternatives could include the Farmers Market Square and this municipal lot next to the AV store. So if you want something close to the Metro North commuter station and or downtown, those are different possibilities. So we'll bring some more information to you with those projects in the future. We were supposed to meet on it today, but with the outages, that didn't work. Any other questions about the Jersey Ave?
Nope.
Okay, and I just wanna reiterate, Jersey Ave would include things like trees, benches, plantings, that type of thing, so it's just not new sidewalks. Project 6, public restroom at the Ball Street Municipal Lot, estimated cost $350,000, suggested match 10%. As far as the state is concerned, restrooms don't necessarily carry economic development benefits. They are definitely a plus, perhaps, to the business owners in the area. And also a convenience to our visitors, particularly when we're having heavy visitation.
So they would fall under quality of life.
Yeah.
They
That's
could
what I
fall
was thinking.
under quality of
Yeah.
life, yes.
Valerie, I'll just add that, yes, I have not seen that project approved frequently, but that's not to say that a comfort station or public restrooms have never been approved for DRI funding before. So it is a possibility.
Okay, did everyone hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Everybody's gotta go.
everybody's got
It
it.
is a quality of life thing.
Yeah. is.
Just like lighting.
Just like lighting.
Imagine that.
So we're up to project 7, placemaking, and the suggestion is to fold project 8, marketing campaign, into placemaking to make it just project 7, placemaking, and, the city marketing campaign is down for $125,000. That was an estimate by Nelson Pope Voorhees, that's what they had seen previously with similar issues. The placemaking, currently here at $500,000. The suggestion is to add the marketing campaign, which would be $125,000, that would make the total cost there $625,000. The suggestion is to consider reducing the cost to $400,000 with a match range of 10 to 20%.
$400,000 for both projects.
$400,000 for both combined.
Thank you.
With pretty well-established $125,000 for the marketing campaign.
Again, just as a reminder, for all of these projects, there can be adjustments to the amounts by the council once they're prioritized, and, so Valerie knows what to put on the application.
Now, this is another in-kind, because there is some construction in this.
Yeah, some construction, yes. Wayfinding signage, once it's acquired, to be erected. Benches, again, same thing. Planting, same thing. Art installations, the whole idea of art installations, that's a separate project. It's one that I brought to the council maybe 4 or 5 years ago. There are different ways about going about public art. For the application, I would need to provide locations for suggested benches and art installations, trees, planting. Specifically, this is not the Jersey Avenue area. The Jersey Avenue area is a separate issue with its own benches, plantings, etc. So this is everything but Jersey Avenue. Walking with Steve and Wayne, DPW, they agreed to look at some suggestions. Like if I took a map and said, how about here, 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 and they could say yes, yes, no, for whatever reason, come up with some prices, how much is a bench, how much is a tree, etc. Okay? So, outside of Jersey Avenue's complete streets, project 5, within the rest of the DRI, identify, as I just said, et cetera, for public options, include location types, sculpture, murals, etc. Funding methods, again, ongoing. So the DRI can help us get started, but as you mentioned, the maintenance and continuing support of a project will depend upon the city. All right, moving on to what's listed here as project 9, small projects fund. Really not many changes here, except as my suggestion is to, after discussion with Department of State, Susan, and a meeting with HCR, who would be overseeing this project. Essentially, this would be a fund with multiple projects therein. It's listed as a max of $600,000 currently. We do not know what projects will be included in that until after all applications are received and the state and the planners can see what exactly, how much, at what rate different projects have been received. But right now, we do know that the city would be responsible for the administration of this fund. It is suggested that the CDA be considered the administrator of the fund because this is what we do, and we have taken care of the revolving loan fund applications and loans for 50 years about, and that the current 10% allocated to this project probably would not cover all costs to administer because a contractor experienced in construction will need to be hired to oversee all aspects. And this is outside of whatever the building department would be responsible for. Okay? Project 10 is the 2 Erie turntable projects, formerly the Transportation History Center. Estimated cost is at 1 million. Suggested match range is 25%. This does not include any fundraising that may be performed by the entities that have applied. Those two entities include the Erie Turntable Incorporated and the Tri-State Railway Preservation Society. There's a number of different issues regarding entity control, eligible entities to contribute work on the property, contribute work on these projects, moving forward under a DRI. Transportation History Center as an entity is becoming defunct. And in addition to that, there are some, I'm just going to say it very, very frankly, that location is an industrial property with a long history of work. Oh, hey. And
Thank you.
Thanks, chief.
I see the light.
Really?
oh, yeah,
Wow, we might be able to read this
Go like
now.
this now.
You know, like Goldilocks.
Sorry.
Thanks,
Thank you, sir.
So as the entities have been aware, there are environmental concerns underlying the property, and projects have been designed to not kick those environmental concerns off. So moving forward, any multi-agency review by New York State may result in additional questions. Any questions there? Okay, so we're just gonna breeze through.
Oh.
You're welcome.
No business,
I
Valerie.
can turn my flashlight off. I'm so excited.
Oh, we can actually see you now.
That's really,
To the rescue.
that's
Here,
really
we're
bright.
getting through with the door. Here we go. Alrighty, so breezing through the additional commentary. Yes, a city match was not required for these projects. It is highly encouraged in order to be competitive. Alrighty, the city does have the option of adding an
Thanks, Chief.
in-kind match in
Thanks,
addition to
Chief.
cash.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that is something that is not available to the private projects. Again, these are reimbursement, 100% goes out, and then everything with the match comes back. Okay? The committed match will make city projects more competitive. Scoring matrix is under New York State Development, and going through it, the LPC may be going through it in phases. They may look at all the projects and just do one set of scoring criteria, and then what's left, they'll go through the next set of scoring criteria. Okay? And that's something like we're going to follow through tonight. So we're here this evening to go over prioritization, ranking, and matches. And ideally, every submission will have some sort of rendering, example photos, that type of thing. Okay? So that's the introduction. All right?
Yes, yeah, anybody from the public like to speak, can have like 5 minutes each.
If anybody, if you do, we'll sign you in after you speak and be all official.
Don't stand up all at once.
It's not required, but.
Anybody, nobody wants to comment? All right, seeing none. Any comments from the council? Start with Regis.
Any comments from us?
From us.
No.
Liz?
Not yet.
Okay. Misty?
I don't have any questions.
No, I have no questions.
Okay.
I don't either, it's just that it's a difficult decision because we wanna get all of these things accomplished for the city, but we're limited on the amount of funding.
Okay, so I made some comments throughout it, but I do have one comment here. And I think the community center amount is far too much of the total. I would not consider that.
Let me ask a question about that, okay? What type, if any, what type of grant would be available to that type of project after this?
So it's listed on your page. It's under the community center, which is project number 4.
Right,
It's on the page
Amen.
4.
right,
On the top, it says potential funding sources include.
right, I got that, but how positive and how do I put this? What are the chances of us
What's
getting
your
any of those
confidence in getting
grants
grants for the community?
for the community center?
Can I interrupt? I think overall, how does the grant process work for the project in general? So like, for example, we have to dish out the money when we are reimbursed. Would the grant money go towards the match? Or would the grant money go towards us dishing the money out to help facilitate the project?
It would more so go towards the match,
Okay,
to my
just checking.
understanding.
Thank you.
Susan, is that how it should be considered?
Yes, I would consider it that way.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
yeah, and I think you'll get to this discussion next, in the next round, but thinking about what is the amount that you would want to ask for in the DRI fund. So would that be the full 50% of the 8.5 million, and then the rest, would be looking for other grants and so forth?
okay, and that's another situation where it's city property, it's a city, it'll be a city building, and will there be the chance of us having an in-kind in that project also?
Potentially, yes. You've got your engineering to do. You've got, depends, again, DPW has been our go-to,
Right,
thank goodness. But in a larger building like that, I don't know.
I'm just
the
thinking
skill
about
set,
site work,
et
you
cetera.
know, that they could do the site work for. That's a big,
Excavation and
right,
demo,
right,
whatever's needed.
Drainage.
There's
whatever.
still-
right,
there's-
parking, all that
the-
kind of
the
stuff that they could do this,
situation.
yeah.
There's still a cost.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, but it's a lot less than if we had to contract it out.
Right, but it's not free.
Yeah,
Mhm. And there have been multiple occasions where community centers have been approved for the DRI project.
Tim?
I don't have anything right now.
Melissa?
No, not right now.
Okay, so, and still nobody out here, okay.
now we have.
So now what?
Ranking time.
Ranking, no.
Well, I think first the yay or nay.
Well, yeah, you need to decide if you want to exclude any of the 10 or as combined 9 items on this list. And then, after that, there needs to be a ranking process
Oh, what's that?
inclusive of, do you want to change any of the dollar amounts that are proposed here as the estimated costs? So the first thing the council needs to, risk of repeating myself, of now the combined 9 projects, we're recommending combining project 7 and 8 into one. There's 9 projects on this list. Are any of them, by a majority of the board, something that a majority feels should be excluded? And I would suggest if anyone wants to exclude one, they make their statement about that now and see what kind of support comes with that suggestion.
Okay, I could do that.
That's a,
You can start.
Go ahead, you first.
as far as the pedestrian, I'll start right from the top. The bridge, I'm not in favor, but I'm more in favor of the grade crossing. And I understand dealing with the railroad's gonna be a struggle, but if I had to choose, that's what I would choose. Not choose the pedestrian bridge.
We gotta kind of raise our voices a little, so the council can hear.
I have to agree with, Maria, I'm not in favor of the crossing above grade. The at grade, is what I would think would be, both in terms of cost and, also in terms of, future maintenance on a pedestrian bridge crossing over. And also, quite frankly, I think people are going to be creatures of, habit and least resistance, and they're gonna think that I can cross the tracks on the ground a lot easier than waiting to go up an elevator or climb these stairs, and they're gonna continue to do that. So and taking into account the amount of, pushback from Norfolk Southern and the railroad, I'm not really in favor of either one.
My only thought on it is just like personally dealing with larger government agencies, 2 weeks time of communication is like a day in their world.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, I don't wanna give up total hope yet because I think that we're still in like such a preliminary phase of this project. I would prefer the at grade because I think one, it's more cost effective, two, people are creatures of habit. They could still be able to do that, what they've already been doing. But I do think I'm struggling because I would like to see Port Jervis connected with that and not have the railroad tracks,
So would I.
So.
But I also agree. I think that if it came down, even if we had the elevators, people are not gonna wait for the elevators. They're gonna say, I can cross the tracks here a lot quicker and I can get to the other side.
But she
So-
hasn't here to put a fence up. That's
One
But people
thing,
climb over fences.
Yeah, fences are mentioned.
the one thing here is that I guarantee you, with a crossing, there will be a fence. Any crossing, there will
Oh, yeah.
be a fence resulting.
I would be in favor more of the at grade naturally, but I would love to see what the cost would be on the ramps instead of the elevators. I'm not in favor of the elevators. I just think it's going to be, it's gonna cost the city a ton of money in the future just for maintenance and upkeep and inspections and, but I would be more in favor of the ramps because we all want both sides of that railroad to be used. And there's so many functions that we have in our downtown right now where we need parking and they need the access to come across and then they need the access to go the other way. So both ways we need. The trouble is I'm not in favor of the elevators.
So if we didn't have elevators and had ramps instead, you would be a
I
supporter?
would be more supportive of that, yes.
So this, as Susan had mentioned, this application can be designed that way. And by the way, once this goes, it's gone. 2.5 million to get across those tracks through a DRI application and grant money. I have no idea where else I would get grant money to supplant it.
So, would you two be in favor if it was ramps only or no?
No, I'm not in favor of it at all, not the pedestrian bridge.
I would agree with Dennis, to watch parents walk their children in a carriage across the tracks makes me very uncomfortable. And it's often that you see some parent with a baby in a carriage coming across those tracks or with a bicycle and losing the bicycle, having to pick it up. So a crossing to me would be great. I don't think that Norfolk and Southern or the federal government will allow that
I agree,
because the federal government is trying to eliminate them
yes, they
for
are.
high-speed rail or whatever other reasons. There's a lot of statistics about people getting hurt, killed at grade crossings. I do think that the overpass is great, but when it was originally proposed at $1 million, by the way, back when Mr. Bonasek was here, it was proposed without an elevator, and you're right, nobody's gonna wait for the elevator if they have a ramp there. And I don't think that you could have a bridge that has an elevator without a ramp. I think you probably would have to have both because you have to have stairs wherever there's an elevator. So I would agree that the overhead crossing without an elevator would be something I'd be very excited about. Excited.
I'm not as well.
Yeah, project number 2 is probably my favorite project out of all the ones listed for the DRI, because I think it gives the community a lot, gives the kids a lot, but it doesn't make sense to do that in Riverside Park without some kind of crossing so the kids can get there. Because only a handful of our community lives in the acre, so.
The acre in West End, which is more
Right.
accessible to Riverside Park compared to
Right.
the rest of the community.
So they need a way to get across the tracks.
Absolutely, and they need,
One way or another.
and they need a way to get back. I mean,
Right.
we have so many functions downtown. The tourism board's doing a great job. They have all the functions on Front Street and no parking. Or they have to park in Great American and walk that distance.
And for the food truck, and this is just an example, we had all the people in the acre, and Norfolk Southern wouldn't even let people drive across the tracks that day.
Right.
To get out of the acre.
So the question is, what is the head count here on some form of bridge, arguably preferable with the ramps, so you take out the mechanical aspect of the elevators? Is that, Councilman Siegel, perhaps you can take a head count on that?
How many in favor? Regis, yes or no?
Yeah, I, with the ramps.
Liz?
Yes.
Misty? Yes for me?
Yes.
Okay.
Mario?
With the rain? Yes.
With the ramp, yes.
Okay, all but one.
So it's in.
That's it.
Number 2. Park improvements, current estimated cost $4.5 million.
So, let's talk about the description first. With the features, are there any features here which you would want to see removed?
Not removed, but like tweaked a little
Modified,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah, like John has said in his email, like with the mini golf,
Yeah.
like the 18 hole instead of 36.
I agree.
So I wonder if we reduce that to 18, if we can keep the softball field
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good
in the
point.
park.
Yeah,
Because the softball field is needed in the park.
absolutely.
I agree.
But it's already there.
Yeah, but they've been
Right, but
taking
they're
it out.
talking about taking
Taking
it
it
out.
I know,
They
but
would take it
why
out
would- I asked John to get an answer, why would we take it out if we already have it and recreate it somewhere else?
Because
Because
you're
you-
putting in that 36-hole golf
Right.
course.
You need the room
Well,
for the,
maybe we don't need the 36.
That's
what we're
That's
saying.
what we're saying.
18 holes
And we
instead.
leave the field alone.
18 seems more
Right.
reasonable.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't know anything about pickleball. My mom would be very upset with me.
Yeah.
But do we need 6? Like, it can just 3
Yes.
hours. You need 6?
6 is good because
6 is-
Okay.
then because you only have literally 4 people that play at a time.
See, this is
Oh, okay.
I know
and
nothing.
you
So
can have
okay.
tournaments with
And
Yeah.
when you're doing a
Tournament.
tournament,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Or a league or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
you
we were
need
playing
6
like the
because
church
that's the way
thing,
the
we would-
rounds
where
work.
we would have 4
Is it
courts
like
going
tennis?
down.
Like you can
Yeah.
do 2 and 2?
Yeah, it's 2 and 2,
Okay.
but it's much smaller than that.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
but as Melissa just said, when they played at Church Street, they would have 4 games going
Okay.
at the same
Yeah.
time.
And are we doing the new skate park because we're relocating it from where it is?
Yeah.
It exists, yeah,
I
okay.
mean, and
And it's old.
it's old and Middletown has a brand new one, really nice, very urban. It probably wouldn't be to that scale.
possibly, moving that to 18 instead of 36.
Do we really need to have, a welcome to Port Jervis water tower when you're already right in the middle of Port Jervis? I'm just asking.
Well, when the trains are coming in, that would be
Okay.
one of the first things they see. All they see coming in is the back of buildings.
And so the 125 would cover what?
Cupola, up top,
So obviously like the 125 is not just going to the arm.
it'd be structural,
Yeah.
and then
I think they do have some.
a design.
I
yeah.
would-
So somewhat of a reconstruction of the old water tower that actually was,
Yeah.
okay.
I
Bill
would like
Schill-
to add something
Bill
else
Schill
to
would love
this.
that.
I would like to add maybe a few more benches, someplace throughout there. When you go over there, there are not a ton of benches to sit on.
And the benches should probably, I'm sorry, the benches should probably face the river, because wherever you go, where you have something like that, and then you could make a little walk there, you could sit there and look out at the river, or maybe a bench that has a movable back,
Or no back.
so you could look
Or
either
no
way.
back, exactly.
Or, yeah, benches with no
Yeah.
back.
Alright,
And
so I
also
put that, I
the-
put that.
The fitness area, I've seen these in a number of places, and I've very rarely seen anybody really using them.
Oh, there,
We used to have one in Church Street Park years ago, remember? And that ended up being removed.
We do have some interest from people in the community
Yeah.
that use the recreation
We,
heating.
Okay,
They
we
came
had,
here
we
to
had a
council meeting,
presentation
council
here.
meeting, yeah.
okay.
Again, don't forget, this is for submission purposes and can be adjusted
Okay,
going
Later on.
forward.
Okay,
okay.
And I think the thing is like affordability, you know, like some people can't afford a gym membership.
oh, the gym, I get that, I'm just,
I'm a little worried about whether it's gonna be used or not either, but I think
okay,
it'd be nice to provide
available.
something for our residents.
okay.
We're voting on number 2.
Alright, yeah,
Yes.
let's go on.
So everyone's
With those
comfortable.
modifications?
With those modifications,
Okay.
yes.
Okay,
So I've got,
Regis? I'm sorry.
Alright,
Let her
I
read
just
the
wanna-
modification.
I just- modification, I have, 36 hole to 18 hole in
Right.
golf,
Al?
the addition or retention of the softball field.
Yep.
And then to add benches.
Yep.
Right.
That's what I have,
Okay.
okay?
Regis?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Okay.
Next, we have,
Okay, go ahead.
your recommendation on this, Valerie, is to have classify it as a supporting project.
Yeah.
Once again, just explain that to the council, that it's going to be included in the application, if the council so chooses.
Yes.
Okay.
So this leaves the door open to, I'm gonna say, the possibility of a whitewater kayak park. It's been discussed as in river. I know there's discussion of out of river.
mhm,
I will remind you, and there's a notation here, that there's $158,000 sitting in city's accounts, that were tied to the development of the whitewater kayak park. That is for the purchase of lands affiliated with the WQIP, Water Quality Improvement Project, which is going to be purchasing lands in Deer Park and adding them to the watershed. If the whitewater kayak park is killed, we are going to need to replace that 158,000.
So,
what if,
when
what if we,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, what if we go with the river access rather than the,
It's called a whitewater kayak, something,
access,
access maybe, I don't know, we would have to see. It's gotta go by the resolution that was passed a number of years ago that allocated those funds. Also, within city finances, there are, I think, about $56,000 set aside for the Whitewater Kayak Park in a previous bond, I think 2017 or something like that. So, we just have to be cognizant of those additional, complications for this project.
So if it was the Whitewater ramp, or the Whitewater Park ramp, and you didn't have the part with the features, because back, and Tim, correct me, he's the expert here, back when we originally talked about this, and we were talking about not putting it in the river, but putting it on our own land, so that we can control the temperature, the height, the features and everything like that, the prices were about the same, right?
They were much more.
To
On
build it
land.
on our land?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, they weren't?
What?
To put it on our land versus in the river was about the same money.
It wasn't, I was answering Dennis'
Oh, I'm
question, he said
sorry.
it was gonna be much more.
So
But,
if we did a ramp to provide people with,
river access.
yeah, which we really need, because right now they use West End Beach and often they're there if emergency has to go in there, they have to move their trucks or whatever. And we had an opportunity in the Neversink River, which we did not do yet. We really need the opportunity for people to put their boats in other than West End Beach.
And to be honest about it, this has been going on for an awful long time. And we know that every time we bring this up and every time we go to get support on it, we've got this organization and this or government agency, I shouldn't say organization, government agency. Yeah, and every time we clear this one, then the next one has it, and then we clear the first two and the third one, now it goes back to the first one. And it's just been an ongoing problem since at least 10 or 12 years ago. So, I'm just not in favor of.
My biggest concern is the fact that in order for it to be, functional, usable, you have to have, I'm sorry. You have to have a fairly constant body of water, and we don't. I mean, right now, it would not be usable.
The kayak park was not originally not supposed to be or expected to be functioning in midsummer because of the water flow.
The low
Right.
water.
It would be every period but high summer.
Yeah, but that's when you have the most number of people who are coming to use the river.
Well,
And to me, there's periods, other times in the spring, when you got a lot of runoff, the river's not gonna be usable. Then there's other times where the river's very low and you can't use it. And
Like right now, like Tim says, the water's too high right now, it'll go right over the top of the features.
But, it would be smooth. But I've been on the bottom of this river many times in the spring, and it's not the same each spring as it was the year before. So the features that are placed in there, there's a high probability that they're not gonna be there next year. They're gonna be gone, or they're gonna be moved, or they're gonna be damaged.
I have another question.
And my feeling is, what kind of a bang for their buck is the taxpayer gonna see? What kind of return is the taxpayer gonna see? We put something on our own property and we have use of it, and we have people come. I went to the National Whitewater Center down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they were bringing them in by the busloads. And the revenue that they created was tremendous. They had the hiking and the biking trails and the Whitewater Park all right there. And these people came in to use it, and the revenue that they created was tremendous.
And if I'm not mistaken, they reuse the water, they don't lose, it's all recirculated.
It's all recycled. It's
Right.
all, and it's
And
clean, it's
clean.
filtered.
Clean, yeah.
It's filtered. And
And even the beach, so
but-
the beach.
But we're not gonna be able to charge people to use the river. I mean, or I don't see a true revenue source coming out of that. And That's why I would be opposed to it.
Is it possible to shift and include river access into number 2?
Just the launch, just the boat launch.
I have no idea what a boat launch would be.
Okay.
And that's why the suggestion here is to consider it as a supporting project.
As far as, so you don't know what it would cost,
Right.
well, we don't know what taking the elevators out of the pedestrian bridge, what that cost was, so why are you able to take that out in project 1, but you can't take the boat launch out of this project and put it in number 2? Just saying.
Well, the city has 2 separate lots down there in Riverside Park. So there is a different use envisioned for the northern lot, SBL, which is, they're both about 20 acres, okay? The lower one, based on topography and everything else, that's why that only had, and we separated out originally the Whitewater Kayak Park, which was the original intention of separating it out. And then after that came the suggestion of additional river access. So that's how it's gotten to this point.
I would be in favor of additional river access, but not a whitewater park.
I have another question. If we move the project to supplemental, right, or is it supportive? Either way, it's fine, okay.
Right.
If we move them to that category, let's say that's selected by the planning committee and ultimately the state, are our hands tied to them carrying out that project if it is selected?
No.
Okay.
That's why it's
That's
in the
why it's
supporting,
okay.
supporting projects. We don't have a time frame. We don't have approvals, we don't have an
All the
estimate,
information,
all
okay.
that issue, the same thing. And that's why it's a great idea, we want it, we need it, but we need more time to put it together.
And maybe we keep it, like, projects that we decide to put into that category, we keep in the background for maybe, let's say, the city, you know, maybe 10 years, we hit the lotto and.
Yeah.
And then we at least have some of that information already prepped and ready for us if that so happens 10 years down the road.
Right.
Okay.
And for economic development purposes, et cetera, over time, the fact that it's in the DRI report, in the, SIP,
Applicant.
it's in the appendix, let's call it, but it's in there,
And it's,
then it's got more credibility when it comes to looking for additional funding sources. So, it's kind of looking down the road.
Okay.
Valerie,
Susan?
if I can make one suggestion, maybe for the council to consider, is if water access is important, and I understand that these are 2 separate projects, as what was suggested, maybe incorporating that into project 1 and having the Whitewater Kayak Park as a separate individual project. That would be simply a supporting project.
Into number 2.
Into number 2.
Into number 2, the Riverside Park North.
Right.
So put the ramp and, access into 2?
Right.
And move.
One is the
But again, Susan, we don't have any pricing or anything for a ramp.
It can't be
I mean,
much.
at this point, I think that that is okay, and that's something that the consultant team would be able to help with. I think if that's something that maybe you could talk to potentially Mike next week, or even the consultant team, and see if we can get an estimate. But yes, to your point, like, that's not something that council is gonna know tonight.
And
much is
there
it?
may be an
Huh?
estimate
How much
on
is it? I wanna
a
know.
boat launch,
250?
because with the other grants for West End Beach, we were gonna put a boat launch
We're
in
not
there.
sure it's
Yeah.
the
There
same
may
money.
be paperwork on a boat launch that would give us a roundabout idea.
So to make sure I understand, move the river access, additional river access, which is currently next to the Whitewater Kayak Park, into project 2, Riverside Park Improvements North, with, everything TBD, get an idea this coming week, and then remove the Whitewater Kayak Park altogether? Or do you wanna keep it in, whether it's in,
No.
whether it's in river or out of river, or just wanna say out of river, and put that in the supplemental?
that I would be willing to go. If it was out of river and it was a supplemental, I would vote for that.
Yeah, I would too.
I would as well.
Okay, so let's go back to number 2 to see if we wanna
We
include the
modify-
River Avenue.
Yes.
wanna
Yes.
modify
Yes.
that.
Amend.
Nobody's against that,
No.
and
I'm sorry.
who's in favor of a whitewater park on our land? Regis?
So we can amending it,
We're gonna put it out of the river.
Yeah.
so it would be a supplemental project with the possibility of it being on land.
Correct.
And who?
Yeah, I would support that.
Liz?
Me as well.
Liz? Me, yes?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're still gonna.
Valerie, I just have one more point that I thought about. In thinking about, since we do not know the cost of the boat launch, I know that there may be estimates out there, is there like a maximum amount that the council would say, no, we don't wanna include that?
At this rate, it's $4 million per project, that's another.
Like, if it was $1 million, would you say, nope, don't go with the boat launch?
I would say yes, we would go with it, we would not go with it.
But I don't think it's gonna cost.
No, I'm
If it
thinking
was-
probably 200,000 is
Yeah.
gonna be.
I would put a cap, for purposes of this application, put a cap of 500 on it.
500,000,
Okay.
Okay?
Valerie, does that provide you some help?
Yes, a cap of 500,000 has been agreed. 500K for a boat launch, max.
And that's included in number 2?
Right.
Do we have to go back and?
Number 2, which you'll bump that up
To 5.
I don't think we have to.
to 5 million.
Interested.
Okay.
So then they can move forward.
Right, we don't need to revote that, right?
No.
Okay, good.
Number 4.
Huh?
Are what we voting on right now, should I write it down as a motion or not? Or we, like, or this is
At
basically
the,
just
at the
discussion?
end of it,
We'll vote.
when we
Okay.
have the whole thing done, this aspect of it, the motion will be, these projects are in.
Right.
Okay?
Just for my note purposes, thank you.
And then we'll do other motions.
It's up a mess, Randy.
Yeah, I'm like, uh-oh, alright.
Should be keeping
We
a,
gotta keep moving, people, we'll let you guys, right?
Let's speed it up.
Oh, that one
number
went out?
4.
Okay, community center, Ulster Place.
I have another question.
Yes.
Are the supplemental projects include, like, is the monetary amount included in the overall amount that we are
Submitting?
submitting?
Supplemental, generally, do supplemental have estimates, Susan, all times?
Usually we make our best efforts to do that because then it gives the state something to work with if we ever get to that list.
I don't know,
So, they do wanna see estimates?
no, I don't think that's my question. Okay, so like, let's say at the end of this, we agree on 5 projects to move forward with, to send to the committee, to send to the state. And we select 4 supplementary projects. Are those combined into one total, and that's what we're giving to them? Or are they only looking at the 5 projects that are on the main list?
Susan, basically, I think the question is, how do we get things onto the supplemental list?
So you would submit the separate projects as you all have been discussing tonight. They would just be evaluated at first as the whole entire list by the LPC. But what we could do during the presentation, what Valerie could do is say, like, this is an important project to the LPC, or to the council, but it's not at the highest priority. And then the LPC would say these individual projects are supporting projects that we would like to include in the plan, but not be considered for funding at this time. So at first, everything is considered equally.
That's why we put them in an order of priority.
Right.
That's why we're doing that tonight.
Yes,
So,
after we choose the project.
Yes.
okay.
If everything goes to LPC, again, it's not ranked. It's gonna be a list.
What
Right,
we
but
put in
I
priority.
think to Valerie's earlier point, for projects that are near and dear to you all, that's where you maybe want to consider putting your match, and really making sure that those are the competitive projects.
So we'll all set that up the numbers.
I've been adding up the numbers.
Okay.
That's right.
She's a number person.
Always in,
That's why I
always in the
asked.
counter.
I guess that.
All right, so next one is
Project 4.
Community center.
Comments?
I mean, it's kind of, I mean, that's the whole point of doing the Riverside Park is for the kids too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm against it, so I'm not gonna make any more comments
know.
on that.
I feel like I'm really being annoying tonight, but
But you need to be.
I think my concern is that I'm not understanding the evaluation of all the projects in addition to the supplemental. So I think for us, supplemental project for us is like back burner. We don't necessarily want that evaluated by the LPC or the state at this point.
Yeah, I thought by I'm with you. I thought by ranking these, our ranks come first. So if we want this project first and we work our way down, then the supplementary ones come in if they.
If it's in.
If
If
they
those
did
6
not.
projects are like not approved by the state.
Right, that's the way I
And I
thought
think
it
I'm
was.
understanding
Yeah,
it's
it's-
totally wrong.
We're looking at it kind of from a Chinese menu, one from column A, one from column B.
What
Later on.
we're here tonight to do is, yes, you are going to rank, because once you rank,
Right.
you're going to prioritize with
Right.
money,
Right,
okay? Money's gonna make the difference, right? Everything goes to the LPC. There will be presentations, correct, Susan?
I believe that's an option we've discussed, but I'm not gonna guarantee that until we talk with the consultancy. But every single project will be presented to the LPC in some fashion.
Okay. The application, I mean, on the application, I could simply say, you know, exactly what we just went through.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Now
Okay.
now I've got it.
So there will be a note of our priorities,
Preferences.
Yes.
our preferences, right?
Yes.
And that, okay,
So what we have to do is we have to go through this list, see if we even like the project amongst ourselves, and then after we do all this, that's when we're gonna rank them?
yes.
And then just renumber them, right?
Right,
Yeah, okay.
And then the LPC is gonna then take a look at this.
and see what goes to the state.
Each one will be a separate application.
With notation.
Okay, so,
Alright, so number 4.
now, yeah, any more comments about number 4? Regis, yes or no?
No.
No? Liz?
I would move it to supplemental, but not priority by any means.
Yeah,
Misty?
Just don't think we have.
no.
Maria?
No.
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 No,
And I'll tell you why no, because we're working on Riverside right now for the kids.
Yep.
And we have all those things over there that we're working on for them. I'm not opposed to a rec center down the road, but not
neither am I.
right
Well,
now.
I think that's, I'm not opposed, but I don't like the location and I don't like reworking the map because then you're opening yourself up for other people to say, well, we weren't included, other areas that we weren't included.
Everyone
So-
can, I've had people ask me,
Okay.
and they've been outside the boundary, and I directed them to the planning firm, because if something is that close and it's that important, again, remember transformative and catalytic,
But downtown is important too.
But also, I'm concerned about
And the maps.
I just think at this point, like being a finance chair, like city funds, like we do not have $4.25 million to spend within the next 5 years. We can't bond until 2025, and
it's a problem.
like, I would love to see this. I would use it all the time. I would
Absolutely.
encourage it, like, you know what I mean? I'm kind of upset that we don't have the money for this, but I think at this point, this project really can't be on our radar for like another 5+ years. Unless somebody private comes in,
And my question
please
is,
come in and host
We
this
didn't
fun,
finish.
but.
So,
does this amount?
I'm a no.
All right, Melissa?
The supplemental and not priority status, that's cool, yeah, that's fine,
That's how I,
Yeah, we'll put it on the supplemental list.
but not
so
priority.
what about?
Okay, so it's a no
just
here, right?
raise your hand,
Well, the supplemental is going in with this, isn't it?
yes.
so,
No, then we can't
We
do no.
don't wanna go in though.
No.
The supplemental is
I mean,
going
no,
in
I-
with the priority list.
No.
Right, so I'm saying
No.
no.
okay, so
No.
everyone's saying no at all,
No.
not
We don't
Not-
even
not
know
now.
what it's gonna
Not
cost.
now.
Not
Okay.
So Valerie,
Let's revisit it some other time.
so,
8 to nothing. All right,
Hold on.
number 5.
Hold on.
Well,
Wait.
We'll start.
so Valerie, if you take that figure out of the equation, and forgetting what we may have reduced 7 and 8 by a couple of bucks, we are now the total for the summary of 15,335,000. So that's really the range, right? That's the dollar range that we're you're probably gonna wanna submit
So the most of the projects we've got,
theoretically.
right.
That's why I'm bringing it up, right,
No, we
Valerie?
just gotta pick an order, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, your matches should, you know, obviously, 9.7 is what gets totally approved
Right.
by the state. So therefore, your matches out of that 15 need to be considerable,
Yes.
okay?
So-
Valerie, can I just interrupt? I wanna go back to the community center really quick. So if this is not a project that the city wants to commit funding for at this point, then it's probably not something that we even wanna extend to the LPC, because then that would require them to do a boundary amendment for a project that's not really wanted.
Correct.
It's coming off the project
Submitting
list.
an application and all would
That's
probably
taken
not
off
be
the list.
taken.
Yep.
Right, the vote is not to submit at all.
Okay, didn't catch that, thank you.
Yeah, Susan, it's coming off the project list.
Coming off.
Great, thank you. Okay.
And the number isn't important as you just said, because we don't know if these numbers are even real. So the 15 million,
Well,
nine
that's,
35,
that's the estimate,
Right.
that's what's left on the summary. If you cross off number 4 on the summary, we're left with 15,535,000 in the aggregate, plus we did a little downward adjustment
Right.
on numbers 7 and 8
Right.
by, brought it down from 625 to 400, so take another 225 off,
Would we even need to do that adjustment if we're getting rid of number 4?
maybe.
You have to keep it in mind, we haven't got to that point yet.
Yeah.
Alright,
Okay.
go ahead.
all right,
So number 5.
complete streets. Comments?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes to
I'd
A.
like to see the sidewalks.
Yeah, let's do it in order. Regis?
Well, wait, there's two parts of this, there's A and B, right?
A1 and B2.
Right, and is that the total cost for both of them, is
No.
700? No,
No.
so,
Oh, B is the-
TBD is on the B.
Good point.
right, so I would say A.
A for me as well.
It's the 750.
Right.
Well, B has been going on a long time, and I don't think we got very far with that.
No, that's why I would be in favor of A at this point.
Yes.
Yes.
Is anybody in favor of B?
I don't know if I wanna rule it out.
I'm not in favor of it, but we
I
can
just wish that-
split it to go for just section B to go to supplemental.
Can we put B in supplemental?
Don't even have
We
it.
don't, yeah, we
Yeah,
don't have
you know.
anything.
So,
I would say
do
we
we
go
have
with the
any
A part
idea
of
of
it.
dollar number for that, or absolutely not? Alright, so
For
then,
me,
so then we
for
just do
density
A, make sure that A at least is what it costs for the
So
So let's
the
just-
municipal lot that's at front in MacArthur Circle, like, can we add that into the sidewalk part? Or is that city property, or is that considered
It's city property, but the sidewalk part is from
Fowler
Fowler
Street, no.
all the way up, so
All the
it's
way.
completely
Yeah.
separated.
I know,
Right.
it's just cause that parking lot is a disaster.
I know.
And there's more businesses going in
and
down
that's
there.
my thing, I would outweigh it, I prefer Jersey Avenue, just for that reason with the amount of businesses and people that are walking on the sidewalks.
Oh no, I'm totally in favor of Jersey Avenue,
Yeah.
So,
I want all the
so
love in my ward,
let's
but-
do A, because at least we have the
Yeah.
information for A, we know what we can put up in kind of situation.
Right.
It's very hard to make a decision on TBD.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so nobody wants B.
No.
Well,
Valerie, and the
let's poll.
CHIPS program, can they do a parking lot?
I don't know,
That would be something that maybe down the road, not this year, next,
and
or
I
maybe.
don't know if that street is, eligible for CHIPS.
Oh, I believe Front Street is, but I'm not sure about, I think, I'm
No,
not.
it's a different discussion.
Yeah, I would,
All right, so who's in favor of A? Regis?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
yes.
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 Okay. All in favor.
Mhm.
Next,
Okay, B's off the list,
Off the list for now.
Yes.
okay.
A.
Public
Okay.
restroom,
Which is I'd like it in there.
I'm good with that.
Yes.
I am.
I gotta go you gotta go somewhere.
It's a small amount compared to everything else.
I think it would be beneficial when we have the festivals and stuff
Yeah.
downtown.
And if
Oh,
we did-
anytime.
And if we did an in-kind, it's only, 10% is $35,000.
Yeah.
That's not
I'll
an
make that
astronomical amount
No.
of money to add to our budget, so
No.
Right.
I'm all,
And,
It's long
and
overdue.
often a business doesn't want you in the bathroom anyway,
Right.
so.
unless you're a paying customer.
Regis?
I don't blame them.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing is, would somebody be looking after this, making sure nothing is damaged or?
That would have
That
to
would
come.
That would be our
probably
DPW.
be DPW.
That would be.
Well,
my concern.
They have the bathrooms at West End Beach, and I've never really heard of any real.
Riverside Park too.
And
Riverside Park stays locked
Riverside
though, I
Park.
think.
But Riverside Park
But
is
the
damaged.
ones at West End Beach are open all summer,
Yeah,
and I've never heard anything being really major damage or vandalism there, so.
In Church Street either, but they're only open during
Right.
hours.
But,
well, that's
okay.
something that, I mean, if the city's gonna be in control of them once
Right.
they're built, that's something that we might be able to negotiate and see what works best after talking with, the
Lock 'em at
DPW
night or-
department head.
Right, okay.
So
Okay.
if they're gonna be
Yes.
located on the Bowl Street side,
Yeah,
Right.
it's gotta be there because of utilities, sewer lines, electrical, etc. So it'd be closest to St. Mary's.
just hoping that'd be closer towards other end of their line.
It won't work.
But anywhere's better than.
Yeah, and I
I'm
don't think
not-
that's a big walk for
I'm
them.
just
Yeah.
asking a question as far as the location, cause it's,
Okay.
In the front of your store. or like
no,
a-
thank
Okay, Regis.
Yes.
Liz.
Yes.
Misty.
Yes.
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 Okay, all yeses. Thank you.
And that one was, $350.
All right.
Placemaking,
So 7 and 8.
7 and 8 together, so it's 625, bring that down to, I'm gonna say 400 total.
Do we wanna bring it down though, being that we scrapped the?
Scrap it, what?
We scrapped number 4, right.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to come up with matches.
That's the thing.
Wow.
We
So,
don't- we don't
actually, I'm
have-
envisioning a third round.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I wanna get through this round, I wanna get through the matches, and then I wanna go back and say,
Yeah.
Priority.
So let's do
wait,
it.
let's move away.
Okay, so the issue now for these is projects 7 and 8 combined for a total cost of 400,000
Yeah.
estimated.
All right.
Any comments?
Well, some of this again could be done in kind, because some of it is construction.
Right.
So that'll reduce that, our contribution down a little bit. So, I think it's a good idea.
Any other comments? Regis?
Yes, that's for it.
I'm for it.
Yes.
You're all right, or you
I'm
for
over
it?
That, yes?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
okay, thank you. Number 9, small projects fund.
I think we have to be able to give people the opportunity to participate, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think this was up for negotiation.
Well, it is.
Do we
I
wanna
mean, it's-
increase this by
again,
200,000? Since it's.
They're 600 right now is the current, cap.
Oh, it's,
Oh,
From the
okay.
state.
Okay.
okay.
However, again, the state sometimes makes adjustments, and depending upon what comes in, that'll be more so the guidance as to, is it going to be 400,000, 500,000, 600,000, or do we really wanna ask for more?
But there's a 10% match no matter what, right?
Now, there's a 10%
Con-
contribution towards administration,
Right.
Oh, that's your, okay.
but that's not gonna cover everything.
Everything.
I'm gonna tell you,
Said it was
the
more.
CDA has been a bargain for the city, let me assure you. The cost is going to be additionally the contractor that gets hired to oversee everything. That person is going to cost more than the CDA.
Oh, that doesn't come out of this 10%?
This 10% doesn't just include CDA, it also includes the contractor, so it's
Part of the contract.
yes,
Right.
yeah. that's what I'm, like, it's going to be above 10%.
Now,
I
is that,
expect it to be above 10%.
Yes, that's all right.
can that be billed back to the project or to the contractor?
Maximum 10%.
Okay,
That's gonna be what we have to do.
So that's gonna be some extra money from the council.
I'd say we leave it at 600,000.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, 600,000, Regis?
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yes.
Melissa?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Okay, that's, okay, all yeses. All right, we're down to,
Your return table
yep,
area. Okay. So this has been listed at 1 million plus. Things have been in flux. I have received 2 applications, each for basically $1 million. One from each, the Erie Turntable Incorporated, and one from the Tri-State Railway Preservation Society. Tri-State Railway Preservation Society does have a match coming and intentions to fundraise. I do not have similar information for the Erie Turntable. I have definitely an application from the Erie Turntable, and the city has a contract with the outdoor club. And then the outdoor club has, other contracts. And then the Transportation History Center entity, which is now moving to be defunct, also had responsibilities here. So, the decision here and the indications are, if the city is interested in supporting these, one or the other project or both, give me a dollar amount and figure out who's what, where, when, et cetera, so that I have an idea of what to do.
Okay, so we have some people here who are involved in that. I believe they,
I'm confused.
Maybe they can shed some light.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking, who's the players, who's doing what, how do the pieces fit together?
Yeah, go ahead.
Stand up, get up and read.
You don't have to use the mic because it doesn't work.
Okay. So my name is Rudy Garboli. I am the chairman of the board of the going defunct Fort River Transportation History Center. I am also the president of Erie Roundhousing. It's not Erie Turntable, it's Erie Roundhousing is the other proposal you got. So I'm the president of that group as well. So I can help you a little bit on figuring this out. So right now, the way things are structured is the city has an agreement with the outdoor club. I'm sure Mike can speak to that. Essentially the same agreement that the outdoor club has for the rest of the sites that they manage for the city. Under that agreement, there are 2 separate use agreements with Operation Tri-Train of New York and the Port Doris Transportation History Center. Operation Tri-Train of New York leases all the tracks, conducts all the railroad operations, that kind of thing on the site. And the History Center was originally intended to handle some of the events and some marketing kind of stuff, and some more of the administrative thing for other groups involved. Under both of those groups, they're allowed to, under both those agreements, those groups are allowed to have sub-agreements. So the Transportation History Center owns 3 boxcars. Those 3 boxcars, 2 of them are leased to the Tri-State Railway Preservation Society for their museum operations. One of those boxcars is leased to the Port Doris Soapbox Derby, that's where they sell the soapbox cars during the year. So that's basically the extent of the Port Doris Transportation History Center's arrangements. On the other side of that is Operation Tri-Train of New York. They have leased a couple of pieces of display equipment from the Conrail Historical Society, which is another nonprofit group. And they have subleased some of the track space to the Dining Car Society, which has some of their equipment displayed there as well. That's really the extent of the groups that are there now. Erie Roundhouse is not a party to any of those agreements. It was created just to handle this kind of DRI proposal. and handle if there's any kind of construction that was gonna happen or something that would be isolated from the, existing operations on site for insurance reasons and some kind of stuff like that. And I'm sure Taris can talk to that a little more if we need to get into the insurance stuff. Taris is a professional, risk manager for construction insurance. So I can certainly answer any questions you guys have about what agreements go where and how things are managed, but right now, Operation Trade Train of New York is still subleasing all of the tracks from the Outdoor Club. The History Center itself is in the process of dissolving. Once it dissolves, that agreement that they have with the Outdoor Club will go away. We're working on getting the boxcars to Tri-States and to the Soapbox Derby in some form so they can continue their operations without any impact from the History Center folding. We really don't foresee there being any particular impact from the History Center folding in terms of how the site's gonna operate going forward. Operation Trade Train has already started kind of rebranding a little bit. They've got a DBA name called the Return Table, and they started to do some promotional stuff that the History Center was doing for the site. That's kind of the high-level synopsis. If there's any questions for me, I can certainly answer those.
So that's the way it stands right now.
Yes.
The concern that we discussed, Mike and I and you and I and Tim, is that when the Outdoor Club is no longer involved, because we have an agreement with them, then your agreement with them is null and void too, so we have to, at some point, come up with a different plan, and of course, I presented my plan to you and to Mike, which I think is a great plan, because I came up with it, but anyway, I think it's workable. So, what we're looking for is, what do we wanna do there, right?
Yes,
Not
Stan.
how we're organized.
Right, Stan, according to, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but it goes to your statement just now. In Valerie's summary here, your turntable project is anticipated to be a 5-phase, approximately $13.5 million project. And phase 1, I'm assuming, is this $1 million, right?
So.
Where's the other 12.5 coming from?
So we'd originally kind of proposed this is what we want to do overall with the site. But in talking to Valerie, came up on the $1 million figure and where that was going to be limiting. And I think we have